I'm afraid I'm going to repeat what I said to the questions earlier on this issue. I mean, shortly ahead, the meeting of the defense ministers who are going to discuss exactly these things, it's not the place, and it's not my position to now preempt this discussion and to answer the questions, which are very legitimate and very good questions, but they can be asked after the ministers have the opportunity to discuss the paper, the proposals, and the way forward on this issue. So I can only recall the EU's objective is very clear: to continue supporting Ukraine as much as we can. The joint procurement is one of the very important topics in this undertaking, and the topic of the discussions of the ministers of defense of the EU member states tonight and tomorrow in Stockholm.
Thank you very much. As to the other more technical questions about production, we will see with the colleagues in charge of the industry part what information they can provide for you with relation to EDIRPA. Indeed, as you said yourself, the European Parliament is still deliberating on it. In the meantime, we are already working closely with the member states, with the European Defence Agency, with the EAS, in order to identify needs and to match them with industrial capacity, because we want to proceed fast while the file is still being in the interinstitutional discussions. But for all the other matters regarding our work on joint procurement, please, as Peter said, bear with us until we have the meeting of the ministers, and this is going to be only completed tomorrow afternoon, so we wouldn't be in a position to preempt anything what the ministers will discuss and decide. So allow me to say that it's absolutely decent practice from our side not to preempt and not to give you an answer on behalf of the ministers that are going to discuss that tomorrow, and it would not be proper for us to anticipate what decisions will be made in Stockholm. So this is the first thing. Secondly, of course, you are entitled to ask those questions, dear Oliver, but we can only say what we can say on stage before an important meeting and before a discussion of the ministers. So we definitely don't mind you asking the questions, but we regret that we cannot be more helpful in providing you more detailed answers at this stage because of the timing linked to the ministers' meeting. As I was saying, will we have all the answers on Thursday? Well, it depends on the meeting. It depends on what the meeting discusses, what the meeting decides, and what our answers for you will be, which will again be determined by the evolutions and by that meeting.
Of course, I mean, first of all, the ministers and the High Representative will take questions. I mean, there is a press conference planned. There is nothing obscure or secret going on here. When it comes to papers, as I said, we have almost every discussion is based on a suggestion paper, which is usually internal, confidential, for the member states. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that we are going to discuss the paper as such. We are going to discuss and explain the outcomes of the discussion of the ministers. If the ministers agree, everyone, that, okay, I mean, let's publish the basis for their discussions, although the discussions might have had moved somewhere else, then why not? We always are for the best possible transparency. But this is a normal working way. I mean, non-papers are a part of the internal confidential discussions, which are not necessarily always published when it comes at least to the foreign and security policy.
Yeah. Indeed, thank you, Peter. Any other questions about this matter? Because Peter is on stage.